Hello, we've got SRL F2 at Mexico today, doing something a little bit different with a voiceover, just to explain some of the decisions and whatnot in the race. See on the screen there, race results from last time out. Interrupted race with a safety car at Japan, but I got the win. Widger, the title rival, second, and Gmo in third. On to the standings. 3 wins in a row has now put me to the top of the table. 8-point lead over Widger. Gmo another 27 back, and then a big gap to the rest. Yeah, just loading up now. Thankfully, weather forecasters we're going to see is dry, cloudy in qualifying, and very sunny in the race. Mexico very bad on track limits. It's my first attempt. You see, just going too much on the curb, crossing the white line, and having my first effort invalidated. Here comes my second attempt. No, and I invalidated lap 1. You see, I'm down in 19th place at the minute. Can't get my words out. So had to not be at quite 100% with this lap, because I had to make sure I got a banker in, get a time on the board. It's still 9 minutes on the clock, so definitely had time for 1, maybe 2 more runs after this if needed. Nice and tidy through the first chicane. Don't use too much curb. Run it out wide, keeping 2 wheels on the track. I was always losing a bit in the first sector. I think we're going to see a 28.0 first sector, 28.046. Some of the guys in this lobby were doing 27.7, 27.8. I was a bit low on the speed trap as well, but I was making up a lot of time in this middle sector. So we were short shifting a bit. We've got to really nail the line through here. Use a bit of curb. Try and stay as flat as possible. Don't use too much steering angle, because you can lose the back end. I think we're going to go purple through here. It's all about nailing the stadium section. We go in a little deep here, which cost me about a tenth or so. Very easy to lose the back end through here. A couple of short shifts. Use a bit of curb. Nice and tight through the final corner, then hug the pit lane wall for the shortest run to the line, and we do hit a 1:14.0, which I think was about 4.5 tenths quicker than anyone else had done at that point. I chose not to go out again and save tyres for the race, so it was just then a case of watching Widger, say my title rival, and it's got really good pace. You see a 27.7 first sector, much quicker than mine. His is coming through to the end of the lap, and as I said, this is where you can lose the back end. Quite a big accident there. I think we're just going to cut off, but I think Joe Royal, who was P9, was 3 or 4 tenths up on his lap, but came across Widger's crashed car, so he lost the chance of a second row. But yeah, a bit of a surprise pole though, with only 1 real lap and by 4 tenths. Pole not the most important thing around Mexico, just because of the huge straight. So good launch off the line here, using a lot of battery. Don't think Widger, I think on the stream of the league race, didn't use a huge amount of battery at the start. Yeah, I've defended the inside into turn 1, thankfully not massively challenged, and from this point I was fairly comfortable. Obviously it all get a few gaps through the chicane, and I just use a bit more battery down the second straight. See in the top right, gaps up to about 8 tenths. So now my aim is just to try and break the second gap for DRS, which wasn't too easy to do around here. I wasn't using all my battery, because you know, you can overcommit with the battery, and then if it doesn't work, you don't make the gap, then you've got not a lot to defend with. So just trying to be quite balanced with it, not really dip below 30-40% with the battery. See if I could just stretch that second gap out. See this first lap, I think we're going to cross the line about 8 tenths, 7-8 tenths ahead of Widger. So we've got another lap till DRS becomes active, and then just the way the detection point is, the first opportunity with DRS isn't going to be till the end of lap 3. So essentially another lap and a half to really try and stretch that second gap out. I'll just let it go on a bit further here. So Widger in the slipstream, no DRS at this point, probably using a lot of battery to keep up, but not getting close enough for a move. So I lose the back end there when the gap was about 7 tenths, and as we come to the breaking point for turn 4, so the gap's about 4 tenths, and at this point I'd pretty much given up on breaking DRS. Widger did have DRS for a couple of laps. Here on lap 5, the gap is just over a second, so I have managed to break the DRS. See battery just under 40%. And then here into the final sector, wow, too deep into the stadium section. And then losing the back end as we flick to the right here, and that's the DRS gap completely gone. Widger now within about 6-7 tenths within DRS, so he can just cruise up to the back of me now. See strategy option pops up. I'm still committing to a soft, medium, soft here because I ran it about 3 or 4 weeks ago to good effect. What I did do also, I ran in qualifying 3 on the front wing. For the first stint of the race I knocked it down to 2, trying to be a bit slippery down the straight line, but I just found the car really difficult to drive. So you see here I'm going to actually change tack here, switch to the soft, add a click of front wing because Widger still right within DRS. I decided I want to be on the softer tyre for the second stint to try and break away. I'm not sure what Widger's going to do at this point, but I have a feeling it is going to be medium because that was my first choice. I dive into the pit at the end of lap 9. Surprised Widger follows me. Obviously, it's pretty much guaranteed he's going to be behind me again. So see here, I pop on another set of softs, and then we wait, and Widger does go medium. So now this is an important stint. We've got the extra wing on. I've now I need to have a gap of probably about 6 seconds, I'd say, coming into the second stops, because then I'll be on the mediums and I'll have an undercut of about 2 or 3 laps to just the edge the gap out to maybe 8 or 9 seconds, but fresh soft at the end of a really strong tyre. So we came out P5, P6, so we just now need to clear the cars that are on the older tyres. So following Quaker really close to the S's, use the battery in the DRS because I want to get past Quaker here and then be close enough to Cold Baseball stood through the stadium so I can have DRS down the main straight. Keep it nice and tidy through the right-hander. Don't lose the back end here, being too greedy on the throttle into Rich. Squid your battery, but not too much. A bit more than I thought, actually. But yeah, off it now with the DRS and just let the DRS do the work, really. Couple of pitters as well, so this is actually for the lead of the race. Cold Baseball stood still having to pit, presumably going on for medium soft strategy. So yeah, he's not going to fight this too much. We're not in the same race at this point. See the gap for Widger, 2.8 seconds. 3 laps later, the gap about 6 seconds. So it's all going to plan. Real good pace on the sauce. And just as we start lap 14, safety car. And now we have decisions to make. So I'm sort of mid-stint here on the soft, so I choose to come in for mediums. As I came out from the mediums, to be honest, I started doubting myself and thinking I probably should have gone hard, guaranteed that I could get to the end, because with the gaps that were around I would have still would have been second. So Widger, he had mediums at his first stop, so he stayed out on them, because he's still sticking to a soft, medium, soft strategy, I believe. So, tricky restart. I'm trying to get as close as possible. See Widger going very slow, which is perfectly entitled to do. He controls the pace at the restart. And a little half spin there. And my attention goes from trying to have a look at Widger into turn 1 to now having to defend hard against Frisky in the other McLaren. See a bit of weaving at the front there as Widger tries to break the toe. I'm having to use much more battery than I wanted to. See, it's gone from 100% down to the 40s. Nice and tidy through the chicane, a couple of little lockups, but nothing that's going to cost me time. There's a little bit more battery here, but not too much, because I know I've now defended the position to Frisky. Then it's hunting back down to Widger. We finally get DRS as it starts getting on the 3rd lap after the safety car, and then another safety car comes out. Nearly run into the back there as Widger slows down for the Delta. 15 laps to go when we cross the line, so it's really tricky on the tyres here. My mediums are, what, 4 laps old now? Probably could have gone to the end, but they'd have been very slow. It would have been a bit touch and go with punctures and pace at the end, so I come in. I've got a second set of mediums, so I'm going to put on fresh mediums that will easily get me to the end. Widger does go softs, which is a big ask for them tyres. Worth mentioning as well is sort of Frisky Biscuit and the other McLaren. He was a bit snookered on strategy here because with his teammate pitting and the way you have to stack in the pit box, he decided to stay out because he's going to lose a lot of time and positions by boxing again. So yeah, we've now come out in P7 and P8. Widger's best chance with the safety car to stay out a lap or two longer. Unfortunately, it releases with 13 laps to go. Let's see, I'll get a great restart after final corners. It's still bunching up at the front, and now using the battery, we're about to go 4 wide, which is very, very scary. I get off the battery, and I'm not being overly aggressive. I'm just going to back off a little bit, try and get places as tidy as possible. Turn in a bit too early and nudge off the Alfa there. Then he does the same, and the following corners puts me out of shape. Bring it all together. Make sure I have a look into the inside. If you look in the left-hand wing mirror, you're going to see a Toro Rosso with no front wing comes steaming in after he lost his front wing. He was an innocent party in that one. That pushed me wide into Joe, so I'm hoping he didn't think I was pushing him out wide, but we all get away with it relatively cleanly. At this point of the race, I just know I don't want to let Widger get more than sort of 4 or 5 seconds ahead. I'm going to have the better tyres at the end of the race, but the bigger that gap is, harder it's going to be, and I'm not entirely sure how the softs are going to drop off. So for me and Widger now, it's just how can we work our way through these cars that are on older tyres. So ERS light blinking at the back of the Ferrari there. So he's used everything in that lap. So he's going to be a bit slower off this corner. But as I mentioned earlier in the race, I don't like to use too much of my battery because I want to be a bit more efficient and have it in my pocket to use in later battles. I know I've got the fresher tyres. I think I can get past, so I'm not going to force the issue here. See, 2 more cars still ahead of Widger. No team orders from Ferrari. I don't really have a teammate at the minute. It's just a reserve driver subbing in for 1 race only, so there's no communication, no tactics here. Every man for themselves, which is absolutely fine. Trying to stay nice and close through this middle sector. Had a good run coming up to the S's, but you'd be a very brave man to throw up the inside of the S's, so it's just trying to keep it as close as possible through here. See Widger still behind the racing point, losing a bit of time, so not really managing to build that gap just yet. Get the move done on the Ferrari into the stadium section. Still Widger behind the racing point. No DRS for another lap, so even though I was going to be within DRS second, I'm not going to get it now. So we're just going to use our battery. We know there's not too much threat from the Ferrari behind because his light was blinking, so I can come off the battery fairly early, make sure I don't deplete it too much. You can see a lot of crisscrossing up ahead as Widger did get past the racing point, and they sort of each have a look at defending and attacking. Using the curves nicely. Now Widger is going to be coming up to Frisky, who is his genuine teammate. Frisky obviously on the old tyres as well. Probably going to have to stop again. Could maybe stretch them out, but no guarantee. More likely to pit again. You see here, very what's the word? Very sportsmanlike from the team perspective. It's pulling aside for his teammate, which gives him a little wiggle to say thank you. So it's really important now for me to try and get past these two. Don't let Widger use that free air too much. Looking on the outside of the racing point, nice and brave, late on the brakes. Little touch between us, but I don't think there was anything in it really. Quite an aggressive move, but all nice and under control. I just think he turned in a bit too soon. I've not heard any complaints about it anyway. So now just 1 car between me and Widger. Again, going to be a bit more bit more usage of the battery and the DRS because I need to get this move done now. A few little moves, just about avoid contact. Pull it to the inside, get it slowed down. Nice and tidy, don't lose the back end of the chicane so I can then get on the power. I have the DRS again, which Frisky doesn't, so that's a natural defence down into the next left-hander. Let's see what we got. 9.5 laps to go. It's only a 1.5 seconds behind. I know I'm going to have the tyres at the end. So here we go with 6 laps to go now. I'm back within the DRS of Widger as his tyres start to fade. I've got a good run here, but I don't think... Yeah, see, I back off a little early because I just want to charge the battery up a little bit more, so when I can get past him, I can really use the battery to try and break out that second, because I don't want to then be towing him around just in case his tyres do hold on. Because it's very difficult to defend into turn 1, such as the length of the straight. So I just need a nice tidy lap here. Won't really be using any battery, just storing it up. We've all got loads of fuel because of the double safety car, so it's not about fuel saving at this point, it's just battery saving. Don't take too much out of the tyres. We've both got 6 seconds of penalties due to the track extensions, track cutting on these strict limits. You know, the vast majority of the field have got them around here. Nice short shifts through the stadium section, and we just want to get good traction out of here. I don't think, thinking back, I think I was planning on doing another lap of sitting behind, because you see I haven't used my battery at all, but with the DRS alone just gives me such a run. Not standard, I'm not even in rich, but the DRS alone gets me past. So now at this point you're going to see for the rest of the lap a lot more battery usage, because I want to break that second. Don't let him have DRS for the next lap, and it should be okay. So we've just got to keep things nice and tidy for the rest of the lap here, which hopefully we do. A big lock up there, but it's only going to lose me a tenth or so. Another squeeze the battery down to the S's. Don't get any more warnings here. I need to keep it nice and tidy. This is where, and you see the gap is already over a second now, and in fairness to Widget, it's just the softs are already crying a bit there. Mine were in much better state. So we made the move into turn 1, and I think when we finish the same lap, the gap is going to be about 1.5 seconds, just by the tyre choice. So it's a good call on that second safety car to do the mediums. If safety car had stayed out a lap or 2 longer, Widger probably had a much better opportunity. It's final lap piece. You see just how much tyres have dropped off. It was 1.5 seconds, the gap with 4 laps to go, and on the final lap here the gap is 9 seconds. I think it does eventually tick over to 10 seconds. I think Widger said his tyres were 90%, so very lucky actually not to get a puncture, because that could have been catastrophic in terms of his result. He's going to lose P2 due to the penalties. Racing Point having a great race, only picking up 3. So I'm going to cross the line to take the win and the fastest lap. Fastest lap I think I got on the softs after the first stops. So a 4th win in the row now. Really, really good form at the minute. 11 points gained on Widger, my title rival. I think that makes it 19 in the standings now. We go to China next, which I have not really run on this game in a proper league race, unlike most circuits, so going to be not quite as on the pace as the last few races, but hopefully a good result. Chance of some changeable weather there as always as well, so hopefully we can have another strong finish and keep the championship lead.